Greetings from Mobility Outlook and welcome to Mobility Conversations. Today we have with us Mr. Philippe Colpron, Head of ZF Aftermarket and Executive Vice President, ZF AG. Welcome, Philippe.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. First, let me ask you about the gains and losses for ZF in the aftermarket during the pandemic period.
I think the first thing we need to think about the pandemic, of course, is the health and safety about our employees and of our customers and partners. It has been our foremost attention to pay attention to the people. And I think the resiliency we needed to have in the last 2-3 years is something that has taught a lot. So we had to clearly strengthen our ability to manage the supply chains. The major use of digitization in our internal process to allow people to work from home and to continue collaborating. But for that, I think we also learned what it means to be globally connected, even if we were behind a screen. Okay. So I'm very happy to be here back in India after 2 years. Last time was January 2020.
Okay.
So I miss India. I think it's a very important market. And we realize how we managed to stay connected thanks to some of the digital technologies, but it's also good to be here, capable of meeting with our customers and people like you to exchange. So what we could take out of it clearly is an acceleration of our processes, an acceleration of sharing our ideas globally, much stronger connectivity, but also I think now we need to make sure that we stay strongly rooted into the local markets as well.
Okay, but generally when the OE sales that goes down, automatically the aftermarket improves.
So
how was it for you?
Well, yeah, and you could say that the challenges we've been having in the OE manufacturing clearly has a direct impact on the vehicle age.
Yeah.
So vehicle age is clearly one of the factors. On the other side, the second factor that needs to be put in balance is mileage, is another very important factor. And we know that people have been driving less mileage during the last 2 years. And now with the oil price going up, there's also a bit of uncertainty in our models to exactly understand where the business is going. Hence, I think what is important for ZF Aftermarket is not only to rely on the market, because we know volatility will continue, and making sure we continue our strategy. Okay. We want to make sure that with our partners we have growth projects to make sure that we can deliver sustainable growth for our partners and of course for us through detailed initiatives and not just following up the market.
So how do you see the next 5 years? Because when it comes to vehicle buying, there is revenge buying is happening in emerging markets. How do you see?
Well, there's two things if you're thinking about the aftermarket. One element comes from the vehicle mix. Coming from a OE technology company, clearly we need to be laser sharp focused on being first into the market with the latest technologies, because we want to keep that leadership position from a technology leadership position. But we know that the aftermarket has a very long tail of use, and this is a duality which is important to embrace and to accompany the market. So if you're thinking about the next 5 years, it will be making sure that we can continue supporting our customers with what they need on what comes from the past and the legacy, making sure that we're very competitive in providing value. At the same time, all the new technologies, whether it's electrification, connectivity, increased automation, and the sustainability that we're going to have, that all of these elements are also that we can accompany the market through that transformation. It requires a lot of know-how. There's investment that need to happen. We don't want everybody to be burdened by the investment, so we're going to have to look into it together, making sure we can accompany through the legacy technologies while helping the industry through this transformation. This is one block. I think the second block is the whole transformation we're going to have with the channels, right? the business used to be pretty static, pretty linear. I have a warehouse distributor, I have a retailer, I have a workshop, I have an end user. This linearity will not continue to exist in such a stable environment. We're talking much more about an ecosystem. Digitization is bringing a lot of change. The growth of fleets and organized decision-making in the aftermarket is bringing another change. And therefore, it will be important for us in the next 5 years to be strongly connected with that ecosystem, making sure that the different stakeholders can continue their value. And digitization and partnerships are key ingredients in that transformation. So if you're asking me what will be on our radar in the next 5 years, clearly those two pillars. If you're talking about ZF India, making sure that the power of our brands are strongly connected together, that the India consumers can understand, now that we've gone through the merger with WABCO, that we've integrating the TRW braking systems, that growingly we can connect the dots of the power of having Zax, Lamperder, ZF, TRW, WABCO, not only as a product portfolio, but really as holistic life cycle solutions that we can accompany with incremental value to make sure that the Indian market sees what we can do for it.
Yeah. Now, how do you see WABCO coming in, strengthening your aftermarket portfolio, not only in India, but across the world?
Yeah. Well, in India, let me start there before I continue into the world. I think we have decades of market recognition from the market proximity and the technical support we've been having across the country. So this market proximity, the strong technical support are things which are rooted into what we want to continue. Now that we can expand with further products, further technologies, it's a good opportunity, to take the strong benefits from all the brands that we have. And by leveraging the light vehicles volume for better logistics, on the other hand, you can leverage also the commercial vehicle experience in terms of fleets. And if you're coming now into the global perspective, I think that the edge we have in terms of fleet know-how, fleet value proposition, will play a value in the light vehicle segment as well, because we see that the mobility is getting further organized by a fleet segment that started more on the heavy vehicles, but that is growing pretty fast in light vehicle as well. So if we can really leverage well our light vehicle or passenger car know-how in terms of volume distribution, presence in terms of the strength of the branding and the e-commerce and etc., but we add that to the knowledge we have with fleets, high technical support, telematics, remote diagnostics, and we merge that, we believe that combining this very strong value proposition across the vehicle segments, taking the strengths of both to address the market is something that is going to grow in power.
One side, you witness growth because of the new entity coming and expanding your product portfolio. On the other side, that seems to be a threat. Correct me if I'm wrong. With electrification coming in, the moving parts are less, and then the wear and tear will be less. The number of parts required for a vehicle will also come down. Do you see this as a threat or an opportunity?
Well, in every risk, there's an opportunity. Depends.
That's what I want to know.
Exactly. So I think we need to be aware that there's change coming, and we need to react. And this is where we also want to be partners with our, with the industry. We want to, we extend our hands to the people of the business because we need to do this together, correct? With less wear of some part, there's increasing services or, needs. And this is where, we want to provide incremental training. I think the future of diagnostics will play a certain role. After, there will be life cycle solution through reman, reuse that need to be incorporated into the strategies. So yes, it is true that if you don't do anything, I believe that people will be facing an adverse situation. But on the other hand, if you take a step forward, you have opportunity to distance yourselves from competition. You have opportunities to add value to the market. And here again, digitization will play a key role.
Okay.
How can you reinvent your business models? How can you take opportunity of digitizations to be closer to your customers and also to figure out new ways to collaborate with your partners? Okay. And digital partnerships is probably something that many companies will have to discover as it is new ways to operate.
Yeah, I want to actually ask you about it, digitalization and also partnership. So if you can explain how it is going to really, benefit the aftermarket business of ZF Group.
Well, let me give you an example. As you may be aware, we have leading fleet management solutions which are powered by telematics. And let me give you an example that we're having in UK that both create a value for the fleet and also demonstrates the example for aftermarket partnerships. So through the telematics, we avoid the fleet of going through their braking maintenance because we use our proprietary information of our braking system to understand the usage, and therefore we have ability to comply with the local regulations to minimize unnecessary downtime to go braking checks. And this is only enabled as well through the partnerships of the leasing companies, or also growingly to other tier ones that equip the vehicles that have information partnerships that enable that to happen. Okay. And we have some clear win-win examples, or win-win-win examples that everybody along the chain has a benefit of doing it, and we have less costs for everybody because we do it together.
Okay. Use of new technologies are coming in a big way. How about blockchain technologies? It's been talked about much in the aftermarket industry.
Yeah. Blockchain, let me put it the other way around. The aftermarket is a business that has a lot of transactions. And I'm not talking only about monetary transaction. It can be
information.
There's many information that needs to be secured in order to bring efficiencies. And blockchain's first use case is about securing, the movement of transactions. So let's see exactly at what speed and which use case. But if you can minimize cash movements or administration by using those technologies, it's clearly where you can eliminate mudas, waste into those administration processes, or the security, the unnecessary cash movements you may have within intermediaries.
ZF has been talking about sustainability, for quite some time, even before the Paris Agreement, etc. And it plays a big role in the remanufactured parts. Yeah. How is it that particular segment is growing?
Yeah, well, let's first talk about our sustainability ambition. So yes, we are committed to carbon neutrality by 2040. We want to use full green energy by 2030, already by 2025. This goes to 40% of energy consumption to be green. And what I was pretty glad to learn about this week in India is that the global objectives are not European objectives. It's exactly the same objectives that I'm hearing from the Indian plans, which is very positive. Now, this is one aspect. How can we make sure our manufacturing is green, but we also want to bring green products into the market? So we're developing our roadmap, where we will make sure that some of our products accelerate in the use of green materials, that our operations use green energy, and as well that we provide remanufacturing as one of the biggest drivers for carbon footprint reduction today. And it's amazing the amount, the tons of CO2 we save every year. Through our remanufacturing opportunities. Already today, ZF operates, across the globe, 25 remanufacturing operations. I think the addition here again of WAPCO brings a lot of complementarity in terms of our leadership position, in terms of our ability to serve both the OES and the independent aftermarket with what I would call economical and ecological solutions, or vice versa. Ecological first, but also very economical solutions.
Thank you. I think with WAPCO coming in, the commercial vehicle segment, you have the entire commercial vehicle segment, and there I think the use of remanufactured parts is very high.
Yes, but we will also here again see a very rapid change in the products that will be remanned. So when you're looking into the remanufactured portfolio of today, clearly there's a big share that is already within the ZF portfolio, whether it's the transmissions or the braking systems, but you also have a lot of parts which are related to the internal combustion engine. As in some parts of the world, the internal combustion will be going down, some of those products will face a certain erosion. On the other hand, if you're looking at the core electrified product, they're very prone to the reuse of those materials, and therefore this reman and reuse of many of the new technologies, I think, will be core into our strategy as well.
Yeah, ZF has a lot of brands. For example, Sachs, Lemforder, TRW, Boge, Optin-Matics, and Stabilis, and now that WAPCO is also coming. Do you see these brands continuing, or is there a scope of merging for the benefit of the customer?
Let me put it this way. So I think that each of these brands have huge heritage and huge value into the market. So we want to make sure we don't confuse the customers and leverage as much as possible the power of the legacy of some of those brands. Does this mean that we will not grow our attention on ZF? No, on the contrary. I think that ZF now has a unique position on the products, on the systems value, cutting across commercial and light vehicles, and we want to reinforce that. So we want to grow the